Welcome to a quick tutorial on how to prepare for and pass your securities exams. So here's what you do. We're going to break it down in two parts. First one is preparation, and then finally, secondly, how to actually take the exam. So first, under preparation is the most important, well, the second most important thing I would say is read. Read. So whatever course you're taking, whether it's Kaplan or test teachers or one of the other ones, get their books or borrow from someone else and read the books. Read them straight through. And that's the first time I go through, I would read it straight through. I wouldn't take the quizzes, just get a basic, familiar understanding of it. Also, if you go into Google Drive and go to Thomas Hierarchy Life Only Reps, I'm presuming most of the people that are preparing for securities have not registered yet, so you don't have access to the normal Thomas Hierarchy folder. So you're going to be going to the Thomas Hierarchy Life Only Reps folder. In there, you go to the Securities Study Material. And then here you have the 6, 26, 63, and 65. I just took the 65. Let's just go with that one as an example. Everything I'm telling you is going to work the same. And here, for example, we have the Kaplan books, or at least some of them, some audios and videos. We have Past the 65 book, and then Securities Institute of America as well, audio. So, for example, if you're taking Kaplan, which is a great course, which is what I took, you still might want to read Past the 65 or vice versa, because that's going to come from a different perspective and a different angle. So the first most important thing is read like crazy and read the book straight through the first time. Maybe then go to the other, go to a different vendor and read their books, like here. And then after you've gone through it the first time, the key now is go through it a second time, and this time do it chapter by chapter, in the sense that when you're done with a chapter, take the practice exams or exam in the book. And then you move on to the next chapter, so on and so forth. In addition, let's go back up here. You want to listen to the audios. There's some videos, and if possible, take the class. I would not put a price tag on passing your securities license. This is a six-figure career. If you're full-time or very serious part-time, you should expect to make six figures in this business. Maybe not the first year, but definitely within 36 months you should be. So you should treat it like it's that kind of career. People spend $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 in order to get a college degree. They spend 4 years doing it just to get a job for $50,000. Here you can have a six-figure career with all the benefits. Don't short yourself on saying, I don't want to take the class because it costs $200. That's my opinion, at least. Now, in some areas, the classes aren't even available, so then you don't have a choice. But I would definitely take a class, and I would do it after you have read the book at least once, read the competitor's book at least once, so you've read, and that's a lot of reading, and then you've done, watch the videos and then the audios. So now you've done all that. You've gone to the class, you've done all those 1 through 4. Now you're going to go to the exams. That's where you're really going to prepare for passing the test. This is the secret. But I'm telling you, don't do this until you've done everything else, especially read the books. Most people skim the books. Don't do it. Read it like you have to teach it. So let's get into it. Here we go. We're going to use Kaplan. This method is going to work for whatever online quiz system you have, and definitely do an online quiz. Don't just do this won't work if you do it with the paper quizzes, the PDF quiz. This has to be an online interactive quiz where they can give you a random sampling of questions, where they can track it for you. It's the only way to go. So in Kaplan, what I want you to do is go to create an exam here on the left. So you're not doing a full practice exam, you're just doing a sample exam. So here, create an exam. You can see these are all practice exams I've written. Look at all these. These are all practice exams that I've done. It's quite a bit. Okay, so you're going to create a new exam. Now in the 65, let me collapse these topics. You have 10 units. And the 6 and 63 and 26 are going to have a different number of units, but this concept's going to be the same. So in these practice exams, you can select what sections you want to learn from. So here's what works for me, what I would recommend you do. You're going to take a quiz. You're going to take each unit quiz one by one the first time through. So if you're starting, you're going to do Unit 1 and Unit 1 only. You're not going to create a mock exam, because then if you say yes, then all these settings go away. So you're going to say, nope, you're not going to do a mock exam. I want you to do 20 or 30 questions. Don't do more than 30, because here's the key. You're going to do this every day, 6 days a week, just like you should be running your business. You're going to do it Monday through Saturday, including doing client appointments, including coming to meetings, including your other self-improvement, including your family and everything else. You're going to do this. It only takes 30 minutes. You can do 20 questions in 30 minutes. I've been doing it for months, and I'm telling you, it worked 30 minutes, sometimes even less. So you're going to do 20 questions, maybe 30, but at least 20, and probably not more than 30. Here's why. Because I don't want you to dread doing it every day. If it's 50 questions a day, there's going to come a day you go, man, I don't feel like doing 50 questions. It's got to be short enough that you're like, you know what, I can do 20 and I'll be done. What I want you to do is uncheck previously answered questions, correctly answered questions. I don't want you to do those right now. I do want you to include previously incorrect questions. It won't matter obviously on the first quiz, but as you go through this in the future, I want it to include questions that you got wrong the first time. I do want you to score as you go, and I do want you to display the explanation. Then under the name, just put 1, because it's unit 1. Then you're going to say create test. So what it's going to do, it's going to go through the test, the questions here, and it's going to tell you here at the top, question 1 of 20. Okay, it'll give you your score over here to the right, 0 of 20 correct so far. I'm just going to put a sample question here, or sample. I didn't read the question. Let's do B, continue, and it's going to tell me that I got it wrong. The right one was this. Now here's what you do. Here's what I like about the Kaplan. In blue at the bottom, it's going to tell you what you got wrong, what the right answer is, and why. And sometimes this is actually just a one answer or one sentence answer, but sometimes it goes, the blue text is like almost a paragraph. It'll tell you why. Even when you get one right, make sure you read, because sometimes you get lucky and you get one right, just like sometimes you miss one when you really should have gotten it right. It either goes both ways, so you always want to read that. You get a lot of learning by doing it right here, okay, by reading this blue thing. So you're going to go through 20 questions. It's going to give you the score. On the 65, you have to get a 72. Okay, so I'll give you an idea. Now here's the key. Once you go through 20 questions, as soon as you pass, which again is a 72%, which really means you have to get 15 out of 20 right. You can miss 5 out of 20. Then the next day, you're going to go to quiz number 2, and so on and so forth. But let's say you fail. Let's say we failed this one. So I'm actually going to back out of here. And let's say I failed. So you got to notate. I notated in my calendar. Every day when I took my quizzes, I went to my calendar and I just put a calendar entry, taking quiz, and I put the score in there. Took unit number 3 and I got a 62, let's say. So I did that every day, so the next day I wouldn't forget, did I pass yesterday or not? So then now it's the second day. Okay, let me uncheck all these. And let's say I failed. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do unit 1 again. And I'm going to keep doing unit 1 until I pass it, which means 15 out of 20 correct if I'm doing 20 questions. Once I pass unit 2, then I'm going to do unit 3. Once I pass unit 1, I'm going to do unit 2. So I'm going to keep doing unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in this case all the way through 10 till I pass them. So minimum takes me 10 days at best. Okay. Now once I've gone through all of them once and passed them all at least once, now here's the key. I'm going to go through and I'm going to start all over again, but I'm going to do unit 1 and 2. Let me collapse these. So I'm going to the second time around, I'm going to do unit 1 and 2. Okay, same thing. I'm going to say not in the mock exam. I'm going to give myself 20 questions, or previously include incorrect, blah, blah, blah. Then down here, I'm going to call this 1 and 2, like this. Okay? So I'm going to do 1 and 2. Once I pass 1 and 2, I'm going to do 3 and 4. Once I pass 3 and 4, that's one day. Okay? It's 1 and 2 is 1 day, 2 and 3 and 4 is 1 day, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9, 10, like that. Because what happens is sometimes when you fixate on one unit, you start kind of getting a flow in it, but then when you mix it in with a bunch of other questions, it's not quite as easy. But I don't want you to go through all 10 units right away. You need to get each one down first. So now once I've gone through that, guess what? Now I do the next time around, I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. That's one quiz. Then I'm going to do 4, 5, and 6. That's one quiz. 7, 8, 9, one quiz. Actually, the last one I would do 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Because it doesn't work out right with 3s. Now, once I do that, then the next time I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I do 1 through 6 and 7 through 10, then 1 through 7, 8 through 10, 1 through 8, 9 and 10, 1 through 9, and then I did 10 by itself. Now that I've done that, and again, I'm not moving forward until I pass that exam. And sometimes it took me 3-4 days in a row before I finally got 15 out of 20 correct in a particular unit. Other times I got lucky, first time through, bam, I passed it. Doesn't mean I know the unit. I might have got a little bit lucky with some easy questions. But once you've gone through all that, and you're doing this 6 days a week, I even did it on Christmas and New Year. I did it all the way through every single day. I can do 30 minutes. Then, now you finally are going to do the whole unit. Right there, you're going to do 1 through 10. Now here's what I did. I just kept doing that. I did the same thing, 20 questions, previously incorrect, the whole routine. I did that over and over again up until the night before the exam. So in the meantime, you're obviously scheduling your exam, you're making your registration set up, but that was my final run. I just did every single, in fact, the last 3 or 4 days before the exam, I did, I think, that last day, I think I did 3 of these quizzes separate times a day. I didn't want to burn myself out. And for me, 30 minutes is all I could take. So what I did was I did, like, I took it on a Tuesday, and I think that Monday before, that's right, it was Monday, it was X Factor. I took one right after X Factor, then I did 2 more times that day, one afternoon, like at midnight. Then the next morning, I was actually planning on taking it again. I didn't, but I did pass, fortunately. But that's what I did. So I didn't go back and read the books again. I didn't go back to class, but I was very well prepared. I felt before I ever started taking a single unit exam. And I think the key, in my opinion, is you're doing a little bit every day and you're doing it over a consistent time period. Now, if you're taking the 6 and 63, you might be under a little bit more of a time pressure because you want to get those tests passed so you can start making money. The 65 is one that you can kind of delay a little bit, so you might accelerate this process. So maybe you do 30 questions every day, you do more questions, and maybe you do it twice a day. Or you might tell yourself, if you pass a unit, you take another question that day, or another unit that day, because maybe you can ratchet through 2 or 3. But the concept's the same. You're still doing a relatively smaller amount every single day on the quizzes. And here's what I found that happened to me over like about a month. I did this for about 3 months. But what happened over a month is, after about a month into it, I was actually thinking about this stuff, when I wasn't taking the exam. And it really helped. So hopefully that helps you. Now let's go to taking the test. Here's a couple of tips. So now you're on the test site, and if you're taking it at Prometric, they're going to give you 2 like sheets of paper, or like clear plastic sheets that you can run. You can run on the front and the back, kind of like with a magic marker. First thing I want to tell you is the most important thing is that when you have a question you don't know the answer to, make sure you mark it for review. Okay? Let me give you another tip. It's an old wives' tale. When they say go with your gut instinct, and your first, like if you're not sure it's right, they say go with your gut instinct, the first thing you think is right, that's a bunch of hogwash. Okay, that's another old wives' tale that's not true. It's been proven. Discovery Magazine did a big write-up on it a while back. They tested people. That's completely incorrect. It's a total random thing. If you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. Period. Okay? And guessing or going with this mystical intuition thing ain't going to help you get the answer right. Either you mark it right or you don't mark it right. Either you get lucky or you know it and you do it right. So what you do want you to do is I want you to be rational and objective about it. So when you have a question that you don't know if you got it right or not, first thing is mark it for review. Then I want you to take one of the 2 sheets, and on that sheet is you're going to mark off, you're going to also put down the question. Let's say it's question 11. Okay, so on your sheet, you're going to put like 11. That's the question number. And now I want you to bring it as best you can, narrow it down. So this is the closest I want you to get to quote-unquote intuition. Out of the 4 answers, I want you to narrow it down as close as you can, hopefully down to 2, so it becomes a kind of true or false question instead of a multiple choice question. But if not, try to narrow it down to at least 3. So you might say, well, I definitely know it's not C, so then you mark down A, B, D. Okay, so that way when you come back to it later, you don't have to re-guess all this stuff or reread everything totally from scratch. You can say, okay, all I got to focus on is A, B, or D. Now, it's possible that you were completely wrong and C was the right answer, but the truth is if you study it a little bit and you narrow it down to these 3 and that's still wrong, where C was the right answer, you ain't going to get it right the second time either. That's the first thing. Now here comes the other key that I don't think anyone really teaches, and I don't know why. On the second piece of paper, I want you to create what I call an index. And on this index, you're going to mark down some of the key topic or topics that that particular question contains. So let's say question 11 was about variable annuities and suitability. You know, they give you a sample client question about client 65 years old and should they use a variable annuity, something like that. And let's say it was question 11, so I'm going to put down 11 and I'm going to put down variable annuity. Let's say question 13 was about the Advisor Act 1940 and about what is considered, quote, an advisor, okay, whatever, okay? So you create an index. Actually, I did make a little mistake. That's not the way. When you notate it, actually put the name first and then put the question number after. So really, you would do it like this. Sorry, you would do it like this. You'd put variable annuity 11. That means question number 11. Okay. Now later on, and you do that for all the questions you have a trouble with. Okay. So you don't index 140 questions because you'd never get done with your test, but all the ones you get wrong. So if you mark it for a review, then that question's also going to get an index. Here's why: a lot of topics come up multiple times, and many times you can figure out the answer to one by the way it was asked in a different one. I can tell you at least three, if not five, of the questions I had when I did this. I was able to go back to a different question and figure out, based on the question, or at least narrow it down, because the way the one question asked it gave me kind of the answer, indicate, or at least told me something wasn't right. Like it might have said, why is a money purchase plan not considered qualified plan? Why is it not considered that? But 50 questions earlier, the question might have been, is a money purchase plan a qualified plan? I don't think the question was exactly that, but you get the idea. Well, the second question already tells me it isn't. It's just asking me now why. Well, that gives me the answer to the first one. So by having an index like that, so anytime variable annuity came up that was something kind of with case design, I would say, okay, question 67 did that, right? Now, I wouldn't go back right away. What I would do is I took the whole test first. Then when I reviewed it, here's what I would do. And sometimes I'd forget to index something. So let's say now I go back and I'm reviewing. I go to question 11. Well, the first thing I know is I'm reading question 11 on the screen. First thing I look at my notes and see, okay, it's going to be A, B, or D because I've already eliminated C the first time through. So I'm going to read it again and maybe even something jog my memory. I might get the answer just like that. But I'm also going to look at the topic and say, okay, it's asking me about, does the state have to, at what level does the state require an investment advisor get registered? Okay, at 100 million, 50 million, or 150 million, something like that. Well, then I'm going to look at index, and by the way, I had a whole page full of index. I had the whole thing scribbled. In fact, front and back, or at least half of the backside. I might have somewhere else marked off, I might have put down something like state versus Fed register, investment advisor. And that would have been, question 39. I'm going to go, oh, that's right, there's another question about that. So now I'm going to go forward to question 9, because you can do that, 39, reread that question in an effort to see if that can help me with question 11. And again, I can point to easily 3, probably all the way 4, 5, and 6 questions. I mean, sometimes I already had them right the first time, but it confirmed for me that I did that right. So that's one of the best tips I know of how to, be able to extract some answers that you're not sure about when you're in there, hoping that question is going to come up later. So just take your time and do it. It will increase the length of your test taking because that's a lot of notations you have to make, but hopefully that helps. Slow down. You do have enough time. Relax. And just trust in yourself a little bit. Not this intuition stuff, okay? But I mean, just trust that this is not rocket science, and the answer's in there somewhere. And if you start, usually one answer is completely wrong. So most of the time you can narrow it down to probably 3. So you've got a 1 in 3 chance if you don't have it right. And don't just, and when you're done, I know you're exhausted, but don't just hit submit. Please go through all the ones you've marked, because so many people get like a 69, 67, A couple people that took the 65 twice got like a 70 the first time. It's often so close that 1 or 2 questions can make the difference. And if you have any other suggestions, please let us know. We can improve this video.